Hello and welcome to another episode of Chuchu is a Ranker. On this episode we're going to be continuing our Albums of the Year list. This time it's 2017, and 2017, is another pretty good year, especially if you like post-punk. So without further ado, let's be complete rankers and rank up a storm. These are my personal top 10 albums of 2017. So we're going to be kicking off this list with Low in High School by Morrissey. And on this record, Morrissey is bringing synths and electronics to the table, as well as more piano work than ever before. His lyrics are also more political than before, with a lot of focus on regimes and revolution. And to be honest, I'm not quite sure these elements quite come together in the way that Morrissey envisioned, but the record does have a ramshackle kind of charm to it. Some of the lazier cuts, like All the Young People Must Fall in Love, When You Open Your Legs, and Who Will Protect Us from the Police, have an autopilot B-sidey kind of quality to them, which I personally quite enjoy. And then there are the legitimate bangers. I Wish You Lonely has churning electronics and some fantastic lyrics. Spent the Day in Bed is super catchy and one of the best late period Morrissey singles. I Buried the Living is a suitably epic anti-war song, and the closing piano ballad Israel is awash with beautiful melodies. So I won't sit here and pretend that this is anywhere near Morrissey's best work. It definitely isn't, but when compared to the other closest records to making the number 10 spot, namely Pure Comedy by Father John Misty or Nothing Feels Natural by Priests, I just like Morrissey's record more, and thus, here he is, curtain jerking this list. Next up, we have Mass Seduction by indie avant-garde guitar pop goddess St. Vincent, which was her fifth album. And on this, she adds more electronic elements to her sound and steps more directly into commercial pop territory. But at the same time, there's also more in the way of stripped back emotion on this, as this record features some piano ballads, which is also new for St. Vincent. The album is pretty consistent through its runtime, with plenty of standout tracks. Pills has an unbelievably catchy nursery rhyme quality to it, despite its constant F-bombs. Title track Mass Seduction melds pristine synth-pop with howling guitar streaks, while Sugar Boy has some booming four-to-the-floor EDM elements to it. Add in the stripped-back emotional ballads I mentioned previously, by way of tracks like Happy Birthday Johnny, New York and Smoking Section, and you have another very solid offering from St. Vincent. Coming up next, we have Melodrama by New Zealand singer-songwriter and pop diva Lorde, which was her sophomore album. And here we have some fantastic, slickly produced pop music with great lyrics and melodious hooks for days, all tied together by Lorde's beautiful sultry voice. Tracks like Greenlight, Sober and Supercut are about as good as this particular genre of music gets, full of lush dance beats and karaoke-worthy choruses, while the cascading melodies of piano ballad Writer in the Dark also impresses with a sense of delicacy. And speaking of piano ballads, album highlight Liability is one to get down on your knees for, combining Lorde's booming vocals with stripped back emotion and awesome lyrics that feel like a punch right to the guts. So whilst this kind of slick pop is never going to be my main go-to, this record is pretty much perfect for its genre, with more than enough immediate punchy material to be making this list. Next up we have Anti-Socialites, which was the second album by dream pop purveyors Always. And on this you have more tuneful dream pop and jangle to get your claws into, but this time round it's decidedly more confident, direct and rocking, with singer Molly Rankin's voice pushed right up front in the mix. The record is consistent from start to finish, with the opening trio of In Undertow, Dreams Tonight and Plimsoll Punk kicking off the LP with an incredibly catchy bang, featuring great jangle guitars and hooky melodies. They really remind me of 90s Britpop bands like Echo Belly or Dubstar. Elsewhere, Not My Baby is a beautiful ballad with weeping melodies, while tracks like Hey, Lollipop and Saved by a Wave provide more in the way of catchy Britpop style jangle. So yeah, this is just a rather lovely album of melodious dream pop that builds and improves upon the template that the band had set up on their debut. Good stuff. Next up we have Science Fiction, which was the fifth and final album by art rock emo denizens Brand New. The band came into this release promoting it as their last album, stating that they would break up after touring the record in 2018, which is exactly what they did. But they go out on a pretty impressive high here, as this record is a dark-hearted concept-ish album about mental health and depression, with songs often interlinked with spoken word samples of therapy interviews. This gives the album a really cohesive and atmospheric sensibility. And from a stylistic angle, the band are also changing things up on this LP, which shouldn't be particularly surprising as the band had changed styles on every single one of their albums. Here the band are anchoring themselves to Nirvana-style wiry grunge, and it's a change that works really well for this particular content and brings an appropriate level of darkness and energy to the record. Highlights on a pretty stacked album include the atmospheric opener, Lit Me Up, with its cool lyrics about sea monsters stirring awake in abyssal trenches. Then you have the duo of straight grunge rockers, Can't Get It Out and No Control, the anthemic lilt of Same Logic / Teeth, and the awesome wah-wah guitars of the buzzing 451. So yeah, this is a great final chapter for Brand New, who go out as a band that left behind a beautiful corpse, and it might have even been perfect if the singer hadn't been caught up in some Me Too sexual misconduct allegations at the very last moment. So, we're going to be kicking off the top 5 with the second album by Japanese Breakfast, the intriguingly titled Soft Sounds from Another Planet. And Japanese Breakfast are the brainchild of Korean-American musician and also best-selling author Michelle Zauner, whose autobiography is currently being adapted into a movie. Why she didn't name her band Korean Breakfast, I couldn't tell you. Christ, I'd take kimchi over umeboshi any day of the week. I mean, Japan, I absolutely love you, but man, you gotta sort out your breakfasts. I mean, there's a good reason I stick to cornflakes every morning. Anyway, Japanese Breakfast is not a million miles away from Mitski in terms of style. Here we have lots of indie pop, shoegaze, and reverb-drenched dream pop that coalesces to make an ethereal kind of atmosphere. The soundscape of the album is generally laid back and relaxing, but also with lots of stylistic detours that elevate it out of the typical indie mire. Opener Diving Woman recalls Echo and the Bunnymen with its extended effects-driven guitar outro. Machinist takes an unexpected turn into auto-tuned disco and pop, whilst Till Death is a gorgeous end-of-the-season style waltz-time ballad. The highlight of the LP though comes during the midsection with a trio of Planetary Ambience, the title track, Soft Sounds from Another Planet, and Boyish. Back to back, they make for a pretty damn impressive slice of atmosphere, with Planetary Ambience being an instrumental lead-up and the following two tracks dovetailing into epic emotional balladry. So yeah, this is just a great sophomore effort from Japanese Breakfast, which is possibly even good enough to leave you hankering for some tamagoyaki and natto. Please just kill me before breakfast time. Coming in next, we have Sunbridge by twee indie contingent My Sad Captains, which was their fourth and best album. And here, straight up, you have one of the most contented, relaxing albums ever made. This record is mostly comprised of ambient instrumentals, with an occasional Wes Anderson baiting pop song thrown in to mix things up a bit. And because of the ambient nature of this record, there's not that much to really say about it, other than the fact that it's totally soothing and utterly wonderful. I mean, it doesn't feel sad or resigned or uneasy. Instead, it just kind of captures the feeling of sitting shirtless on a grass hill beside a river, with the sun on your face and an ice-cold beer in your hand. It's just really wonderful. And as for highlights, well, the whole album is so consistent and atmospheric that picking individual pieces is a bit of a moot point. But sure, alright. Don't Listen to Your Heart turns on the catchiness at just the right point on the album. William Campbell builds up over a rolling acoustic trill into a gorgeous soundscape. The closing duo of Wintersweet and Relive end the record with atmospheric perfection, and my personal favourite, None in a Million, will have the lyric, "Slowly increase my love," stuck in your head for all eternity. So yeah, if you're having a stressful day or having difficulty sleeping, Dr. Chuchu has a prescription for you. Sunbridge by My Sad Captains. Coming in third place and taking home the bronze medal, we have Relatives in Descent by post-punk outfit Protomata, which was the band's fourth LP. On this album, you can expect lots of gothic, twisted melodies, bolstered by some pretty savage guitar work. And to that point, a tip of the hat has to go out to the production and engineering of this record, as it's often really heavy and dense, yet you can hear each instrument really clearly. The sound quality is pretty damn impressive, and the record just sounds great. The guitar work is also nicely varied on this too, sometimes indulging in brutal distortion and punky chords, but other times conjuring up indie rock style chiming riffs. It's a really good mix, given support by an excellent rhythm section that delivers driving bass and impressive drum lines. Vocalist Joe Casey also has a distinctive style, as most of his lyrics are delivered in a spoken word format. His monotone delivery really suits the tone of the music, and he often feels like the calm in the middle of the storm. And the album is consistent from start to finish with no weak tracks in sight. Highlights include the off-kilter minor key changes of Opener A Private Understanding, the chiming riffage on Children and The Chuckler, and the punishing heaviness of Don't Go to Anestheta and Male Plague. My triple threat of favourites though come in the form of the atmospheric ballad Night Blooming Ceres, the building rhythmic bass attack of Up the Tower, and the pulsating closer Half Sister. So yeah, this is just an excellent album by Protomata and essential listening for fans of post-punk. Silver medal time, and the silver medal is going to go to Damn by rapper Kendrick Lamar, which was his fourth album. And yeah, this is probably my favourite hip-hop album of all time. That said, as this channel testifies to, I'm not really a hip-hop aficionado, but I do enjoy the odd dip of the toe from time to time. And of course, any rap fans out there will immediately be thinking, Chuchu, you have Damn on your list, but made no mention of To Pimp a Butterfly on the 2015 list, which is universally considered to be Lamar's masterpiece. What are you thinking? Well, yeah, you know, I'm the guy who had the Beastie Boys' License to Ill on my list, but also totally snubbed Paul's Boutique. Basically, really high concept art house hip hop just isn't really my bag. I actually like my hip hop more simple and direct, which is exactly what Damn is. Actually, that's not entirely true, as this obviously has been made with a cohesive artistry in mind. There are many cohesive and connective tissues running through the album, be it in lyrical themes or direct musical callbacks to other tracks. It's not just a collection of songs. Everything is tethered together and designed to be listened to as a flowing piece. And talking about flows, Lamar is an amazing rapper, not only in technique but also as a lyricist. His words just grab your ears from the first syllable and don't let go. These tracks run the gambit from serious thoughts on the nature of the ancestry of black culture, to anxiety and fear of failure, to religion, to slapping the shit out of people who try any gangster rap bullshit, to finding good pussy to park on his taste buds. And the way he's able to flip between serious and hilarious is a lot of damn fun. And the album is consistent from start to finish. Every track is pretty great, and you get some tasteful cameos from the likes of Rihanna, Zachary and U2. Highlights on a stacked LP include the opening Blood, with its epic baroque organs and spoken word lyrics suddenly giving way to dumb comedy. I mean, it just makes me laugh every single time I listen to it. DNA and Humble are amazing catchy hits that are immediately hooky and impressive. Element throws a little bit of semi-gangster rap into the mix, and Love has some beautiful melodies coursing through its flows. My favourite though has to be the 10-minute epic Fear, which deals with class escape, violence, abuse and losing everything you've ever worked for some waiting disaster lurking in the future. So yeah, this is about as good as hip hop gets in my opinion, and I really love this record and it gets a full 5 stars from me. Just fantastic stuff. So here we are at the top of the mountain, and the gold medal for 2017 is going to go to A Black Mile to the Surface by Manchester Orchestra, which was the band's 5th album and also their defining masterpiece. And holy shit, this album is awesome. I mean, this isn't just a 5-star record for me, this is likely one of my top 10 albums of all time, and almost certainly my pick for the best record of this particular decade. It's an intensely emotional rollercoaster of an album that deals with many existential themes, including a section of the album which actually goes into concept mode and deals with a kid who grows up with abuse that leads them onto a self-destructive path, a narrative which spans over a couple of tracks. Other themes include dealing with cancer, the notion of being personally significant but also insignificant when faced with the expanse of eternity, and crucially, which is the heart of the record, the fear and joy of becoming a first-time father. And musically, this album has a production style that really reminds me of Morrissey's Voxel and I. The guitars often sound like they could have some growl to them, but instead, through some engineering magic, sound distant and ethereal. It limits energy but really teases out the cathartic elements from these songs. And as for consistency, every song is brilliant. Not just good, brilliant. This is an absolutely flawless record in my opinion. Highlights in an album entirely comprised of them include the lead single The Gold, with its dovetailing guitars and super catchy chorus, The Sunshine because of the way it alleviates the darkness of the record with a moment of pure love, likewise the gorgeous stripped back acoustic number The Parts, which has singer Andy Hole contemplating the love he has for his wife as she gives birth to their daughter, while lead SD kicks all kinds of ass with that mosh-inducing moment where the guitars kick in for the final chorus. My favourites off this though have to be the mega ballads The Alien and the closing track The Silence. The Alien is all ghostly arpeggiated guitars and the heartbreaking lyrics about abuse driving someone to extremes, while The Silence is about the crushing notion of someone that you love just not needing you anymore, but set to one of the most epic, building, anthemic ballads of the decade. It is awesome. Mwah! Chef's kiss for both those songs. And yeah, I mean, I'm missing out so many other great tracks. The Wolf is badass, The Moth is post-punk atmospheric heaven, The Maze is a superb stripped back opener, but yeah, I gotta stop myself there or we'll be here all day otherwise. Basically, you just need to drop what you're doing and go listen to this if you haven't heard it. It is indie rock perfection. And that's it. That's my 2017 list, but that might not be your list. Please sound off in the comments section and tell me all the records that I've missed. Like, share, subscribe and all that other kind of YouTube jazz. Make sure to check back for my 2018 list. Take care of yourself, but most importantly, just keep on ranking.
Hospital food, never enough medication. The doctor asked about your ears. He said your mom said you were made from revelation. Revelation never scares. Your fear came from your drunken dad and a pair of scissors. Were you just finally letting go? Or did you mean to take out